Hello, my name is Myra Tanksley, and I'm recording this on May the 4th, 2017. And I am continuing to post as a background, just to give you a backdrop, audio tapes of my son who's autistic. He's currently 24 years old. He just turned 24, but he's been going through this for several years now. He's been kidnapped by the system that is exploiting him for federal funds. In the meantime, he's being abused and neglected by direct staff, a very evil, corrupt, dirty attorney that's also exploiting him for money and abusing him and neglecting him too, indirectly. She has turned her head while my son has been beaten, assaulted, stolen from, and because of my advocacy and speaking out and my race, they took my guardianship away. I haven't abused my son, haven't neglected him. I'm actually a registered nurse. I'm not on any abuse registries or neglect registries. Um, and if I was guilty of doing something like that, I wouldn't be able to practice nursing. So, because of my speaking out, not turning my head, because they want me to turn my head like they turn their head when he's abused and neglected, and probably many others like him. But these people are in it for the money. They make their paychecks by scratching each other's back. Um, they practice injustice, and they want me to turn my head um, like they do while the abuse and neglect goes on in their system, in their culture. And I'm not going to turn my head and hang my head down low and not say anything while they abuse and neglect my son. And then I say it's racial too, because of I always have been accused, falsely accused of escalating my son. And I say it's racial because I know they don't tell white parents that. I know they just don't. Well, and like I said, my son is autistic. He's high functioning autistic. But if he has a meltdown or aggression, um, they don't tell the families, the moms and the dads that are white, that you're escalating your son. And I was blamed for him having any kind of aggressive behavior, whether I was there, whether I had visit and laugh or on the phone. And my son loves and adores me, but I see it as a common theme in this sick racially country. It's a racially sick country ever since 1776, where they try to tear the black family apart. And my son adores me. He loves me very much. And these audio tapes, I'm putting that because it's emotional suffering when you're missing your mom, when you're not able to see your mom. And um, so I have plenty of audio tapes of him saying how much he loves me and miss me and wants to come home. And I have plenty of audio tapes of him describing abuse to me and neglect to me. Um, because my son, like I said, is high functioning, so he can speak in his own words and he can describe how he feels. He does have maybe some cognitive deficits, but he does pretty well describing how he feels about, you know, uh, the way they have treated him missing me, missing his home, missing his hobbies. And so, because of my advocacy, my son has not been allowed to call me since December the 10th, 2016. So it's been 5 months. The last time he was allowed to visit with me was over 2 years ago. Um, that was March the 15th, 2015. And then I knew he was going to a counseling appointment because the U.S. Department of Education, not this dirty, lying, unfit attorney named Erin Sanford. She did initiate this. The U.S. Department of Education initiated because I did um, um, filed a complaint. I did a couple of complaints, one with the Ohio Department of Education and with the U.S. Department of Education, and they found that the Columbus City School District was violating my son's civil rights, and they made them enter into an agreement. And one of them was counseling, because Sanford wouldn't even do it. At first, she was completely ignoring the Columbus City School District when they were asking and sending her numerous requests to find a counselor. They said they got no response, and that's who told the U.S. Department of Education. The school district told on Sanford. Her name is Erin Sanford, and she's in the corrupt law office of John Mashburn. He's got like 200 wards. So these filthy, dirty, corrupt, evil attorneys are making money. When they get wards, they get their money. And I read somewhere where her law partner, John Mashburn, has 200, at least 200 wards. So he's getting 200 Social Security checks every month. And ain't no telling how many Sanford's got. But, these corrupt attorneys, they scratch each other's back. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, um, that's the reason why um, they had stopped me from and have not allowed us to visit, because they know I collect evidence and it's a racial thing. And that's for them to say something is ignorant, because the incompetence and the ignorance is just as bad as the corruption. And I said, so when these autistic individuals, whether they're children or adults, are having meltdowns at home, in their family homes, are they blaming them, the mothers and fathers, and telling these white parents, you escalate your son, you're escalating your daughter? They're not telling them that, but they can't say nothing else about me. So that's the kind of thing that, they have always said, you escalate your son. And I got these tapes to prove that I don't escalate my son. In fact, when my son is actually upset or angry, it's because of the way they have been treating me. And then he gets emotionally under distress when he says, Mom, I love you, I miss you, take me out of here. Because he wants me to know and feel his pain. And I have as a mother. I'm also a Christian, so is my son. And the Lord told me, step back, stop trying to deal and fight these evil people. Let me handle them. He said, because you done all you can. Because I have actually sent reports and complaints to a lot of people. I recently just sent a 24-page grievance or complaint to the Ohio Supreme Court Disciplinary Council about Erin Sanford. Because I said, well, number one, she's treating my son like crap. I said, that's not even natural to not even let a son see his loving, supportive mother that hasn't abused or neglected him. I said, that's not even natural. And it's a God given right for a family to be together. He designed the family, God did. And then I also put in that same complaint or grievance that she lied on me. And she lied on me more than once. Because, like I said, I'm an evidence girl. I got 3 Facebook pages, and I collect evidence. That's the way I like to do it. I'm not full of hot air. I don't sit up and lie on people, especially sick people. You don't have to, because they're going to do sick things. Like Jesus said, a good tree is going to put out good fruit. An evil tree cannot put out good fruit. So you can expect corruption and injustice and all that stuff from these people. So I sent this 24-page report to the Disciplinary Council of the Ohio Supreme Court. Well, you can imagine it went nowhere. They didn't even acknowledge what I said about her lying on me, which is a no-no as far as they're concerned. Attorneys never to lie to a client, and they're not allowed to lie to a so-called court of law. Well, she lied to me to probate court, and I had sent them a complaint, and like I said, it went nowhere, swept under the rug. I said, because all these people are in the same system. They scratch each other's back, they go along to get along. It'd be unpopular to say, wait a minute, this is not ethical. This is wrong what we're doing. to this mother and son. Because remember, I ain't abused and neglected my son. Ain't none of that scum can bring anything out to prove that I have abused or neglected him. And I wouldn't be practicing nursing if I have uh, uh, had a history of abusing, neglecting anybody. So it's unnatural for what they're doing. But the reason why they're doing it is because some of it's retaliation, but most of it's because they don't want me to keep collecting evidence. But I don't have to put nothing else on none of those pages. I already got enough evidence. And I might as well just give you 3 pages. Now, the first one is the abuse and neglect of autistic Marquis by the government. The second one is justice for autistic Marquis Tanksley. And the third one is the audio tapes of Marquis Tanksley, his suffering, abuse, and neglect. And like I said, it's full of evidence. There's pictures, there's documents, there's uh, tape recordings, and then I have a YouTube channel. It's full of audio videos. And most of the time, well, basically all of the time, except for one. I have one videotape on there. But when I say audio videos, it doesn't mean there's video on there. It's just the recording. But I call them audio videos. So I have a YouTube channel also. So what I'm doing with this last page, the audio tape page, um, I'm letting Marquis, well, people hear Marquis in his own words. This is Marquis speaking, told to me his mother. And so, in his own words, he's describing how he feels. He's describing abuse and neglect. And of course, it just splits my heart in two. But I had to keep it together when I was there. But I bet nobody, any parent that loves their son or daughter, will want to come in and see their son or daughter the way that I've seen my son, especially if they're disabled. You know they can't advocate for themselves. But God's gave him enough, I want to say, vocabulary and maybe even cognitive ability to be able to tell me these things. And I said, it won't be in vain. And like the Lord told me, you step back, let me handle this thing. You stop trying to fight with those evil people because you done all you can. And sometimes it's just situations that only I can take care of. And if I want him back home with you, he's coming back. He said, pray for him. Because he said, you know what I did with Belinky? And David Belinky was a corrupt, evil, very arrogant attorney, Jewish attorney that, and I say Jewish and stuff because when I talked to him on the phone, he was putting down a woman, and this woman's a preacher and stuff. I said, oh Lord, he's going after Christians, which is a big no-no because I said that Christian preacher might have been praying that God dealt with that man. But anyway, um, he was very evil. He's the one that lied and fouled to get my guardianship taken away from me because they were saying, we got to get this guardianship away from this mother. Who does she think she is? She collects evidence and all this kind of stuff. So he's the one that lied and fouled for my guardianship. I got the audio recording of our phone conversation. I got the recording of our phone conversation. Oh, it's in the YouTube channel. I think it's on the justice page because the justice page has a whole lot of documents which show um, Ohio Department of Developmental Disability, Probate Court of Franklin County Board of DD, David Belinky, Aaron Sanford, when he was abused over at Ohio State University Western Medical Center. It's got a lot of documents on it. And then the abuse and neglect has both. It just has recordings, it has documents, it has pictures. So, when you get time, check them out. And it lets you know that I'm just not full of hot air. It's not just my imagination or my son's imagination. That's what it'll show. So, anyway, when he was taught, because me being a Christian, I know God doesn't like injustice. And he doesn't like arrogance. And that's why I said nobody can tell me injustice doesn't um, exist. Even God says injustice. Okay, I was just looking at a text. Sorry about that. But even God says injustice exists. And he's very angry with it. The Bible's just full of, scripture about injustice throughout the Bible, in the Old and New Testament. So nobody can tell me injustice doesn't exist because God says it exists. Nobody can tell me prejudice and racism doesn't exist. So God just told me, he said, you just step back, let me handle it. Don't try to fight with those evil people no more. You done sent complaints, and I'm going to bring you back home. And he said, you just have to trust me. And I do it my way and in my own timing. God has his own appointed time when he does things. He said, but you do need to pray for him. He said, because you know what I did with David Belinsky. And to make this, story short, when this man was talking to me, because he was just bragging and, quote, unquote, he said, I run over people in court because I got a big mouth. And he thought he was, and he, quote and unquote, he called himself a phenomenal. That was a phenomenal that probate court would appoint him so much that he had like 10,000 hours. And then he started talking about, I'm co-guardian with this lady, and they always listen to both of us, but they always side with me. And he said, this lady's a preacher. And then he was bragging about um, his wife, and it was just awful. And it was a simple conversation. And during that conversation, I'll never forget it. I felt anger, not from me, not to me, because I was trying to, talk to him about my son. And then he had told me that it was a mistake that he filed um, for to take my guardianship away because he didn't know I had already consented. Because they lied and said I refused to consent for Marquis, that's my son, to have evaluation. And here I'm a nurse. I do it. My son's been having evaluations ever since he's been born. I ain't got nothing matter with have any problems with evaluations and assessments. I do them sometimes myself. So they lie. It's just the slander. And that's why I said, ain't none of that scum out there can ever, because I probably would have got a letter by now, but none of them could ever say that I'm slandering them because it's the truth. And I got the evidence to prove that it's true. But nobody, nowhere, no way, no how is going to send me a letter and say, cease and desist, you're slandering me or you're slandering my client. And they know it. So a lot of it's retaliation too. But they don't want me to get any more, ammunition and stuff. But this wrath, and later on I found out it was the wrath of God because one day I was at Walmart, never forget it, and I don't get the paper, I usually just go online and read what I want to read. And I walked past, how they had the newspaper stand, so it was a guy standing there with a bunch of papers. He was trying to get subscriptions to the Columbus Dispatch, and I went right on past him. But when I walked past him, he was actually greeting everybody, trying to get them to subscribe to the newspaper. But I walked past him, all of a sudden something just swung me around, you know. And I went back and I said, well, I want to get a paper. And for him to give you a free paper, you had to subscribe. And he gave me a free paper, but he never got me to subscribe. Yet he still gave me that free paper. Because it was the weirdest thing, because I had already walked past him and was going about my business, but something turned me around, maybe go get the paper. So then when I got home and read it, and I never hardly ever read the whole paper. I got certain sections like to read, and the obituaries are not one of them. I really don't ever go to that section. But the Lord made me read the obituaries, and David Belinki's name was the first name up on that list. And then the Lord spoke to me. He said, that's why I made you get the paper. And vengeance is mine. I will repay. He said, you ain't got to, I'll take care of these people in my own way, in my own time. So I was just like, wow. I said, that's what I was feeling. I was feeling the wrath of God. That while this man was talking, uh, the Holy Spirit was so angry with him. And I could feel it. But I did know that it wasn't coming from me. And I did know that it wasn't directed to me. But I wasn't really too sure what it was. But those two things I did know. But I felt it. I mean, it was, I never felt nothing like that before. And then he, according to people that knew him, it was a shock. He died unexpectedly. Um, he was just home the day before. Everything was fine. So it wasn't from a lingering illness. He wasn't in the hospital. He just fell out and died. So I've seen God do a lot of things, but that's how I get my comfort and my peace. Because as a mother, I love my son just as much as they love their kids. And to not see him and not to know how he's doing, and God knows. And he said, you don't fight them no more. He said, they just don't fight them evil people. Hand it over to me. And he said, pray for them. Because, a lot of people kind of forget that God is not happy with sin and injustice and racism and prejudice. That's why you open up his word, the Bible, and you can read how God feels about all these different types of things that mankind does. And you're really treading on dangerous ground when you're messing with a Christian, because God promises to deliver us in this life from those things. Sometimes we don't even know when God is going to do it, but he will do it. And he could, throughout the Bible, you can see how God can sometimes just move people to the side. Sometimes he takes it all the way, like he did with Belinki, and put his light out. He can destroy anything and anybody that gets in his way for the will of his people. That's nations, that's armies, that's individuals, that's governments, that's lawyers, that's judges. So you got to be careful when you're messing with a Christian. Because when he told me, and they always do what I say, they listen to both of us. But like I said, the recording is on YouTube. So you can listen to it. The arrogance and it's bad enough if you're abusing people in court, but to brag about it, and the pride, like he's unstoppable and all powerful and stuff. And when he was talking about, and this woman's a preacher, I thought, oh Lord, you know, because this woman that he's talking about don't know who she is. I said, if she's a Christian, she might have been praying for a while for God to deal with Belinki. But he acted a plumb fool. I didn't think lawyers should scream and yell like that during a court hearing. I said, wasn't nothing professional about him. I wish I could have taped that, the way he yelled and screamed and stuff. But that conversation on the phone was just appalling. It was just totally appalling. But God was so angry with that man, and that's what I was feeling. Like I said, on the phone, I felt this anger that I never felt before. And it wasn't from me, and it wasn't towards me. Something was angry with that man when he was on that whole time he was talking on the phone. But getting back to this, so that's what these audio tapes are for. And this is from February 23rd, 2012. And I have to apologize because at that time I was taping on a micro cassette, which is not that clear. So I didn't start taping on a better recorder. Like February 2013 was when I started taping on the smartphone, the voice recorders on the smartphone. So they're a whole lot clearer, better, quality and clarity. But in this, for all the naysayers, because like I said, they've been trying to destroy our family. Like my motherhood don't count. I said, well, I'm gonna show them my motherhood count. I love my child immensely, tremendously, and I said, I don't think they got much sense if they think I'm gonna just walk away and forget about my son. Because number one, I know God is ultimately in control. He has the final say. If He wants him back home to live with me and for us to be in ministry or whatever God wants, it's going to happen. And Sanford and them ain't going to be able to stop that. I said, they might get themselves where their booties get spanked real bad. Because God sometimes will do that. Sometimes He'll punish people in this life. He might not just move them out of the way. Because like He did with the Egyptians and stuff, He decided He was going to drown the whole army. It wasn't just, I'm going to go ahead and let the Israelites escape and stuff. Because God could have held them back and let the Israelites go through the Red Sea or dry land, then close it up. But He also let the Egyptians get in there so that He can drown all of them. Sometimes God will destroy you, especially if He's very angry. And He's not happy with this situation. And He knows it's wrong. So I know that God is in control. And that's what He told me. He said, I don't want you fighting with that evil. You let me handle that. He said, you just go ahead and stay faithful and get your peace from me and your comfort. I'm with your son. He ain't done nothing to nobody. And it's not right. Because like I say, I say even inmates have visits and phone calls from the family. My son ain't done nothing to them people. But and neither have I. Because sometimes people wonder, like, did you do anything or did he do anything? You don't have to do anything for people to mistreat you. Marquis don't deserve all the abuse and neglect and being beaten and stolen from and assaulted. Look the way Jesus was treated. He went to the cross for our sins. We know that. But they didn't really know that, didn't really believe it. But they treated him like a criminal, even though he hadn't done anything. The Bible says he was numbered with the transgressors. Jesus was without sin, but he was treated like an animal. The way they tortured him, beat him, and treated him with contempt and everything else. There's a lot of people that's in the world or been in the world, been treated like crap, and they didn't deserve it. Because the people that was mistreating them and abusing them or whatever they end up doing to them were sick. I mean, we're dealing with a bunch of sick, an army full of sick people that happen to be judges, lawyers, and that's why God's so angry with injustice. Like I said, nobody can say, oh, and just, even God says it exists. And when He acknowledges it, that's enough for me. And when He acknowledges it, people better get themselves together. They're going to be judged on that. Could be punished for that in this life. Because when God get angry with you, He might not just, like I said, move you aside. He might throw some punishment in there. Because He let me know that David Belinky was deceased and that He took care of it. He made sure I knew that man was dead and gone. I'll never forget it. And then the Lord spoke to me, He said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And now you know why you got this paper. I'll take care of your enemies. And that's in the Bible. God promises that to people that trust in Him and believe in Him. Jesus promised in the Gospel of John, I told you these things so in me you can have peace. In this world you'll have trials and tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. And that's what God said. You step back, hand this thing 100% to me. I know you've been believing and trusting. He said, but I don't want you to go tit for tat. Don't write them people not another letter, not another report. And I already got this thing worked out. I already know when He coming home and how I'm going to do it. Because God knows, Jesus knows the beginning to the end. Nothing's a surprise to him. And there ain't nothing and nobody that he can't handle. He's the top. And he can't be stopped. So with that, I am going to go ahead and get ready to play this audio tape. Like I said, it's from February the 23rd, 2012. And I hate to really sound like I'm preaching and stuff, but I am a Christian. That's what keeps me going. I miss my son every day. The Lord has to do it one day at a time. He has to give me peace and comfort. And I pray that, that I know that he's with Marquis and he's giving him peace and comfort. Because my son, like you'll hear him on this recording say, I miss you, man. I miss you so much, man. And then he tells me it's not fun being in this place. And this was actually at Columbus Developmental Center, February 23rd, 2012. And Columbus Developmental Center, or CDC, is a state of Ohio ICF MRI facility. And is one of the developmental centers that the state of Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities operate and run. That is a state facility. That's one of their facilities. And he was just treated like pure crap there. Just treated like pure crap. I also seen a employee of theirs, a state employee, because like I said, state facility, attack and punch my son in the chest and grab him by his shirt and threw him in the van. How I seen it? Because I'm a Christian. God had me standing in a place where this thug couldn't see me, but I could see him. And it's on audio tape. I would have got it on videotape, but it was a little dark. But you'll hear me, my son, and that thug on the tape. And see, that boy might be, ain't no telling what, because sometimes, God, unless you repent, because Jesus died for everybody. If Sanford and them repent, then they're not going to bust hell wide open, because Jesus died for them too. But he told me, that I should pray for her and pray for the rest of them. Because he's awfully angry. He said, don't fight with that evil. Don't fight with them evil people, but pray for them. But when God deal with you, you ain't going to be able to defeat God, and you're not going to be able to run away. He's somebody you can't run away from and hide. He's in complete power and control. And that's why he told me, he said, I'm with your son. I know what he's going through. I know things that you don't even know. I know what you're going through. Just trust me. Because he promises to fight our battles. And I don't, like the Bible said, the battle is the Lord. But it ain't really a battle. You can't go up against God and outbox God. You can't expect to do that. Ain't no way you're going to win. But I miss my son so much. I think about him every single day. You know, the devil tries to mess with your mind, especially if you're Christian. Oh, he dead, or you ain't gonna never see him again, and all this kind of stuff. But that's the devil. But there's somebody that I know that is in complete control, and his name is Jesus. And when Jesus said, I have overcome the world, that means everything and everybody in it. That's probate court in Franklin County. That's the United States of America. That's every nation, every country. That's every individual. That's every agency. That's every government. That's every system. That's what that means. So with that, I am going to play this, and it's like I said, not that clear. All you're going to hear him say, for the naysayers that, think that Marquis, it's good for Marquis to be away from his mother. Can you imagine because they had made him suffer so much. That's another thing. God is very angry with that suffering. But Jesus knows all about suffering. But to make him suffer like that, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally. Uh, he has to be in noisy environments that throw him off. And that's why I said when he's up there venting to me, he's venting to me, not about me. He's venting to me about all the noise and all the abuse and stuff that they had put him through and all the neglect and stuff. But for all the naysayers, oh, he hates his mom. Well, I got dozens and dozens of tapes of my son. We're here for Marquis. I said, 'cause y'all don't need to speak for my son. Y'all don't care nothing about it. If y'all did, you wouldn't be abusing him and neglecting him in the system. All you want is the federal funds. And that's why I said this country's going down because it's been so hypocritical. With oh, we're a Christian nation, all this kind of stuff is very racially sick. God has already been exposing the racial uh, atmosphere that's never went away. It's always been uh, present. It was more out in the open. When when biased and racially sick, prejudiced people could get away with all the lynchings and all this, but it's still there. It's still in American culture. So it's been a very hypocritical country. In God we trust and all this kind of stuff. And it's a shame when you profess and lie to be something while you're still in denial. Because everybody's in denial. They all blame the victims. But this last few years, I see God been putting it out front and center about the racial climate and the things that are going on um, racially in this country. And then you wonder why people wonder why people like Trump or Jeff Sessions, the new attorney uh, general of the United States, is in there. God doesn't approve of it, but he'll allow people like that to get in office and in positions for a catalyst. God is going to allow the Antichrist to act a fool for 7 years. He'll be empowered by Satan. But that's all already in the Bible. Already said, done, what's going to happen. And it's not because God allows or approves of the Antichrist, but the Antichrist will be used as a catalyst for the pathway to the prophecies that the Bible declares will happen. It doesn't mean God approves of evil, but he will allow evil people to get in these positions, the pathways to his prophecies. That's all. And that's why I said this country's going down. God's already setting up, and of course it's a global thing that's going to happen, according to Jesus and the Mount Olivet discourse. It's on in every gospel except for John. And Jesus gave us a chronological time of these events that'll be happening. And this North Korea, China, Russia, Syria, United States, God is just everybody's just on that it's a puppet. It's God is positioning for these things to happen so these prophecies will come true. So, as a Christian, you know, we could see God at work. We could see God at work in his nature. And we could just look at the trees and the sky, and you can see that's God's handiwork. When the sun is setting, man didn't make the sun. Man can't even get too close to the sun. But God made that. That's his handiwork. But we can also see that God is in control, and he is in the affairs of men, in certain affairs. Well, all this stuff gonna come true. This thing with Trump and that guy over there in North Korea and the back and forth and the words and all that kind of stuff. I believe a major war will break out in 2017, but I might be wrong. I'm not God. But it ain't not going to break out until the day that God will allow it to break out. There's not a human being on this planet that's all powerful. That belongs to God. That only God has that authority. And when I mean human being, you could take it all the way down to a president or prime minister. It's not important. It doesn't make any difference who's sitting in what seat. There's not a president or a dictator or a prime minister or a king or whatever that has complete control over this world. That belongs to Jesus. He has all power and authority. When he came out of that tomb, he said, all power and authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Hallelujah. I'm getting happy thinking about it. And that's who loves my son and loves me and died on the cross for us and a million others. And, I said, okay, yeah, I know you got it. You got this. You take care of this. And you will comfort my heart as a mother because you've seen your mother cry at your cross. You know a mother's love Jesus. But you got this. I just got to wait for your time. The date I already got the date set that I'm going to do it. And I'm with him. He said, but pray for Sanford and them. Because I'm not too happy. And, um, if you probably could have told David Belinky when he was on the phone that within less than a year he'd be dead and gone, you might have told him. But that was my wrath, and I took care of him. But I'm taking care of your son. I got this. So with this, let's go ahead to this recording. And like I said, it's short and sweet. Marquis is actually talking to me on February 23rd, 2012 at Columbus Developmental Center. And he tells me, I miss you so much, man. And then, because this was during a visit, and then he told me, it's not fun being in this place, you know. So, and his feelings haven't changed. They have tried to change and put a wedge, and maybe if we don't let him see each other, talk to each other, maybe he'll forget about her or whatever. Because, see, they know Marquise can tell me things, too. They don't like that. And then I just don't sit and complain about it or bitch about it. I collect evidence. And like I said, I got 3 pages full of evidence. And this audio tape page is also evidence of my son, you know, his own words, me not putting words in his mouth, of him expressing his feelings to me. So without further ado, here is this tape recording. At the beginning, you'll hear him say, I miss you so much, man. And then towards the end, it's probably only like 7 seconds or something, 5 to 7 seconds. At the end, he'll say, this is not a fun place. His feelings, not the system's feelings, his feelings in his own words. And here we go. So there you have it. And he said, I miss you so much, man. And I told him, I understand how you feel. He said, understand what? I said, I understand because I miss you. I feel the same way too. And then he said, it's not fun being in this place. His feelings, his likes, his dislike, his love, you know, for his mom, a mom that he knows loves him unconditionally. And he didn't like CDC because they mistreat him there. And it wasn't right for him. I said, y'all ain't got no business, because they mislabel him as being moderately retarded. I said, my son is not moderately retarded. He's autistic. And so it was just awful over there. Besides the staff and other residents abusing him, assaulting him and stuff, they kept it too quiet. Too loud. They didn't keep it quiet enough for him, because autistic people, especially my son, I'm just going to say my son, he couldn't tolerate a lot of noise. They didn't. It was just too loud. And then the assaults, the neglect. They wouldn't feed him the right kind of food. They wouldn't give him food that he would eat or that he liked. his clothes. They wouldn't let, because I had bought some, and I got pictures of that. I didn't put all those pictures on my abuse and neglect page, but I still got them. Every time I took like 5 sets of brand new clothes up there, I would get them to sign in for it. And sometimes I would take pictures of it. So when I would ask them, I'd come visit my son. He didn't have 98% of the time he didn't have none of those clothes on that I bought him. I said, where's all the new clothes that I bought up here for my son, to wear? So after a while, they went ahead and stopped signing in for it, but I still took pictures of it. And then I would just write down everything I bought up there. I got like 50 or 70 pages of that. All that's in my records and stuff. And I would just put CDC refused to sign. But they were neglecting that way. I mean, the abuse and neglect, but that's why he would say that. Besides missing me, he will also talk about how bad that place was to him. The staff, the residents, the environment, the neglect, the abuse. And already on the audio tape page, I got him telling me about a guy named Robert abusing him. And I mean, actually hitting him in the head after throwing him down. He told me they dragged him one time and they were restraining another resident named Danny. Um, and I think Danny was mentally retarded, because that place was basically for mentally retarded residents, residents with mental retardation. It wasn't really for autistic residents. But Danny even told me, and he came up to me and said he seen my son being assaulted. And he described it, threw him down on the floor, was punching him in his head and everything. Everybody just swept it under the rug. And like I told that piece of trash, Heidi Hughes, that worked over there, she was a social worker, but she climbed her way up to the top by, because they all go along, get along, and everybody's corrupted, and to keep your job, just like that sorry, no good court investigator. Now if he would have said, oh, that's wrong, and they ought to be letting him see his mother, and the mother ain't done nothing, and he's been abused, he wouldn't have a job now. They're all cowards. They're all cowards, and they're all corrupt. That's why corruption and injustice is so devastating, because everybody's corrupt. All of them people are rotten. The judges, the courts, the disciplinary council, the agencies, they're all rotten. Every last one of them. But if you, like I said, if you go to the audio tape page, because I already start posting audio tapes on there, you will hear, um, just read the title of them. And like I said, right now, because I'm going from 2012 all the way up to the last time I talked to my son. He was allowed to call me. And February 2013, they will be clear. But they have always tried to say that, and try to break our family up. I said, my son gonna always love me. But that's what they thought. Oh, well, maybe he can forget about her, and we ain't gonna let her get any more evidence. I got enough evidence. I got so much. I don't have to put another piece of evidence on those pages. That's why I ain't got no slander letter. Not for nobody. Ain't nobody sent me a letter or accused me of lying. All they could do is try to lie on me. And I said, if that's the best thing they got, they done fail at that. I said, because my son couldn't rebut that, because that's the kind of person I am. I like to rebut liars, with the real truth. And that's what Marquis does. For every time they said that I escalated him, you ought to hear how he begs me to take him home, and how he misses me and loves me, and all of that, um, conversation. Because I have to always encourage and tell my son, is God is in this. He gonna bring you back home. It's gonna be all right. And of course, he hears how much I love him too. But They have always tried to break up our relationship. But like I said, it's racial. I said, but I know they ain't telling them white parents that they escalate their when their sons or and daughters are having meltdowns at home. Because some of them low functioning autistics, they can really get so uh, violent that they'll harm themselves. So when they're having meltdowns at home or at school, are they telling their parents after you drop them off, they had a meltdown, or at home, you escalating them when they have physical aggression and verbal aggression, and when they hit you, that you deserved it and you set them off or something like that. I said, I know they ain't telling them white people that. What you bet? But they're going to tell the black mother that. So, with that, I'm going to play this one more time, let you hear it, and that will be it. It'll be on the audio tape of Marquis Tanksley, the audio tapes of Marquis Tanksley is suffering abuse and neglect, and it will also be in Myra Tanksley YouTube channel. So it's under Myra Tanksley, and like I said, I got many audio videos, one videotape, and that was of the last time my son, uh, and I was able to see my son when he came out to go to that counseling appointment. And they tried to manipulate him then, tried to make him go off on me. Took him across the street and told him to ask me, what do you come here for? What do you come here for? And then when he came back, he said that to me. Then he started telling me how he really feel. I miss you. I love you. And he wanted me to stay with him, go to the counselor with him, come back later on so he could see my face. It's just heartbreaking. I said, now that big, nasty, trashy lady that had him, I said, can you imagine how she treats him for real? So anytime you're going to take an autistic person and try to make them go off on their mother. That's why I said, these people to me are worse than any criminals out the street. And that's why I said, they don't want to sit up in no meeting with me. Because they take your guardianship away so they can take your legal authority so they don't have to tell you anything when things happen to your son or daughter, and then they don't want to deal with me because because to me they're garbage. It's just like if I was in a meeting, it would be just like sitting up there with criminals. That's where I think of them. I said, I don't care what job they got, what agency they work for, what role they play. To me, they're just human scum. They're the lowest of the low. But that's what she did. So if you can see the videotape, go check it out. Because she tried to manipulate my son to go off for me. And then they lied on me and my son and said that he ran across the street when he seen me. And he did not go across the street when he first seen me. He was already in the parking lot, and I was already in the parking lot sitting in my car. And then the trash that works for the home DD staff, the agency staff, home agency staff, lied and said that, Marquis had ran across the street. And he shouldn't be running across the street, he could have got hit. Well, how come she didn't, when he was sent, because he didn't run across the street, but when the overweight, uh, trashy lady took him across the street and told him to say that to me, she actually sent him across the street by himself and stood back on the sidewalk to see what was going to happen. So she didn't walk across the street with him. She sent him across the street by herself. So this trash that they headed the agency staff didn't say nothing about that. And the videotape rebutted all the lies. Because Marquis never ran across the street when he seen me, but he did go across the street by himself after they told him to go across the street and say that to me. And like I said, the bigger fat lady, she stood back and wanted to see what was going to happen. And when she seen my son wasn't going off on me and yelling and screaming and all this kind of stuff, then she brought her fat butt back over across the street to see what we were saying. All on videotape. That's the way I do it. And I'll be so glad when God gets this human trash out of my life. I said, anybody that's out on the street, I can have more respect for them than this mess, than this trash we got in our lives. I said, because these people do this stuff 365 days a year when they're working, Monday through Friday, and making paychecks off of it, lying on people. I said, that's that scum that, I said, now this is the scum that God's talk about in the Bible. When he's talking about, injustice and cheating people out of their rights, he ain't talking about people, the average Joe on the street. He's talking about these lawyers and judges and courts and disciplinary counsel and attorneys and court investigators or whatever else. That's who he's talking about. That's exactly who he's talking about. So with that, there you have it. Um, if you go to the other two pages, make sure you start from the very beginning. I like to always tell people that, not the most recent posts, but start from the beginning of the pages when I first created them, especially with the abuse and neglect. And it's just awful, horrific pictures of how my sons have suffered and been medically abused and neglected and physically abused and neglected and emotionally abused and neglected and assaulted and beaten and unexplained new injuries and scars, and it's just awful. I say even the boy couldn't even have his own clothes because I bought all kind of and prove it. That's why I say ain't none of the lawyers gonna send me a letter and do anything. All they want to do is just try to keep me out of the picture because I got too much evidence and they know it. I said anytime he can't have his own clothes that his mother bought him, that's sad because they just stole them. He never wore them, and I never got them back. They just stole them. But anyway, I got evidence to prove that too. So there's nothing that I'm saying that I can't prove or haven't already proven. And that's not all the evidence that I have on Facebook in those 3 pages and on YouTube and my YouTube channel. But it's enough to show that I'm not full of hot air. And me and my son Marquis, I love you. I miss you so much. Hang on in there. God is in control. And me and my son, we're both looking forward to him being back home and God getting that trash, that human trash out of our lives. And thank you for listening and have a blessed day.